long opener. So I'm going to tell you about a man at a cemetery. This is a story I learned about half a year ago. No, a year and a half ago. So this dude was at the cemetery because his father died. And his family, like his mom was still alive, his grandparents still alive, so they gave his father a ton of flowers. Like every so often they'd come together and this grave would have a bajillion flowers. Like it's one of those graves where just there's a lot of flowers there. So one day he feels bad for this grave that's next to his father because they never get anything. So he goes and buys flowers for this other guy's grave. This stranger he's never met before, he buys flowers for them. He does this for 2.5 years. 2.5 years, he buys flowers for this other guy besides buying flowers for his father. So he decides, this is a silly thing. So let me learn about this guy. He looks up their name because he was wondering, why did no one give this guy flowers? How come his wife never gave him flowers? And the answer to that, also by the way, he died on Christmas Day, is because he killed his wife. And he killed her parents. And then he jumped in front of a train. So for 2.5 years, this guy was giving flowers to a murderer. Didn't know, but he did. So he looks up the graves of the wife and her parents. And he gets flowers, drives down to their cemetery, gives them the flowers, of course, at the cemetery, and then he just starts mumbling an apology. A woman's there. She sees him and goes, what the heck are you doing here? Who are you? I've never seen you before. Why are you leaving flowers at my aunt and my grandparents? And he explains the whole thing I just told you. And he was just like, well, just leaving it because it was kind of a weird thing I did. So, just trying to apologizing to them. And she's like, yeah, that is really weird. That's definitely weird. And he asks her out to drinks. 2 years later, after she said yes to drinks, she also said yes to marrying him. That's how he met his wife. That is how he met his wife. Happy Halloween. Looking at the frame rate. I know Jinx said she was going to fix the frame rate. I think she forgot to do that, and I forgot to remind her. So this is giving me motion sickness, and I don't give motion sickness. Wow. I don't... Jinx, why did you mess with the frame rate again? I don't remember. Alright, but it looks weird. It's bugging me out. I'm going to stop looking at myself, and I usually do to make sure I'm doing things right, but I can't look at me anymore. I just can't look at me anymore. I can't do it anymore. Alright, okay. So maybe don't look at me, just listen to me. Jeez, that's a weird thing to say. Alright. So, cemetery. I've done a similar thing. My grandparents, they get a crap ton of flowers. Well, my grandfather got a crap ton of flowers from my grandmother. And then when she died, she got a crap ton of flowers from everyone else for a while. And, one day, we realized, well, we don't realize, we did some sort of thing where the brain clicks. Where there's been a grave next to my grandmother for who knows how long. And we know it's there. Like, there's just grass grown over it. We know there's a grave there, so we, walk around it. But at some point it clicks, like, for months, this grave has been just covered in grass, all the way over the gravestone, all that stuff. So we take the time to cut all the grass off of it and everything, and get it all off. And it was a dude who died after being alive for only 20 years. Like 19, I think it was 79 to 1999. He was only alive for 20 years on this planet. And my grandmother died like 2004, 2005. That's not a lot of time to build up, people who want to leave flowers at your grave. That's for sure. And yeah, you got a bunch of flowers next to him, but there's none here to the point that it was just completely grown over. Like, the groundskeepers are supposed to clean up the graves and keep them all nice, but they neglected this one for, as far as I can remember, at least like a year or so. Because, let's see, my grandfather died 13 months before my grandmother died. Very unfortunate. He died 13 months before she died. He died in January, she died in February. He died the 4th of January. We decided to have a big family reunion at our grandparents' house. And then everyone flew home, and then he died 4 days later. I was there. Oof, I was there for that. So everyone just turned around and flew back for like the funeral and everything, basically. Then there's my grandmother. She died 13 months later. We thought she was going to live a long time. We didn't think she was just going to follow him 1 year later. She spent a bunch of his spent a bunch of his money, whatever he had, renovating the house so that she could live well. She got like a new bed. She got all this nice stuff. And then she went out 13 months later. It was a dang shame. Real shame. So, for at least a year, because I know that grave was there, like when they buried him, like I remember we were just like, oh, there's a grave here, just tiptoeing around it and everything, not stepping on the gravestone. And yeah, for at least, in my memory, 13 months, this grave was covered, overgrown. And then we cleaned it up and everything, and ever since, whenever we visit, that grave is also cleaned. The groundskeepers know it's there. I guess they just forgot about that grave or something. But yeah, it's a 20-year-old grave. Not 20-year-old. It's the grave of a 20-year-old. So there's not much. It's just his name, the dates of birth and death, and then it's got like a nice little design, and then that's it. 20 years old. Like, there's not much there. I don't want to get morbid thinking about how many people leave flowers at my grave. It ain't gonna be that many. Virtually, it'd be more for sure. That's the world we live in now. Okay, gonna get a little morbid. Think about my mother's grave. To my surprise, things you don't really know your parents too well, honestly, unless you really talk to them or something. Like, I hope to have a better relationship with my kids, but I'm not going to be as interesting as my mother's apparently was. When she went out, when she died, the line of cars, like the entire cemetery was packed with cars. The procession was a couple miles long. They needed 8 cops. That's how long the procession was. That was a lot of cars. Of course, she died when I was young, so there wasn't really time to grow up and realize I should learn about these things, I suppose. This is still a 34-year-old adult. I haven't learned too much about I've learned a lot about my father, but not everything. You just learn things, I guess, when you're the child of someone. Because you don't want to pry into your parents' lives. You want them to tell you, I think. Like, you would ask questions, but I don't... There are things that, people will take to the graves with themselves, obviously. There's things in my life where no one's going to know what the hell everything I've done. She had just such a long procession. My grandmother had a long procession. My grandfather had a long procession. I know my father is going to have an epically long procession. He's going to have a silly number of people. Thinking about it, my grandparents, my father, my mother, they were all very social people. They got to know people everywhere. My father could make friends with just people in line. Like, lines aren't a thing right now, but he can make friends with people in line. So could my grandmother. You're at McDonald's waiting in line, he just makes a friend right then and there. So did my grandmother. Line at the bank, make a friend right there. Thinking about me and more my generation, it's just, everyone just keeps to themselves, leaves everyone else alone. But these are the people who talk to people in line next to them. Because, well, what else are you going to do? Of course, now everyone's got phones. But before that, well, what else are you going to do? Just stand there? Why not talk, right? It's interesting how phones have connected us all so much, but it's also made us kind of also insular and quite separated from each other. I've said this many times to myself. I don't know if I've ever said it out loud, maybe once or twice. But it is interesting how that is, how I can have friends in Japan, I have friends in Korea, I have friends all over the place, and of course across America. But I can't just call them up and go hang out. Well, obviously right now even more. But I can't just call them up and hang out. Like my father can. Like my mother could. Like my grandparents could. I have some friends down here. And if it wasn't for the virus, I could hang out with them. But I have such a bigger group outside of where I can physically go. And in some way that feels isolating. It's like, it's cool, but it's also isolating at the same time because, of course, it is a digital connection, not a physical or one that you can visibly see, I suppose. I was going to talk about my back for the vlog. It's been a while since the vlog. I'm thinking about this because, well, talking about a cemetery. So let's talk about my back. I have been. If you watched the podcast, I talked about it a bit because I did the podcast before, of course, this vlog. Because the election's almost here, and everything I have to say about the election is in that podcast. 3.5 hours long. I do 25% of the talking. But, like, what I'm thinking is there. I don't think I've ever really painted it out as much, my upbringing, as I did there in the podcast. Because I never really talked about it, and it probably explains things better about why I feel about certain things the way I do. And, like, there's been inklings of it, but I never really said, and I'll say this at least here. I grew up in a Republican family. I grew up surrounded by Republicans. I grew up with the idealization of what a Republican is and how great they're supposed to be. But then, becoming an adult, all I saw was hypocrisy. Lots and lots and lots of hypocrisy. There's plenty of hypocrisy on the left as well. But I saw it much worse on the right. And, like, there was some hypocrisy during the Clinton stuff, but it didn't bug me too much. It bugged me a little, but not too much. Then you had the Bush administration, and there were some cracks here and there. But then when Obama came around, they were just not playing ball at all. There was no attempt to play ball, and it was very annoying and frustrating because where's the great compromise? Where's the great just playing the game of politics? There wasn't that. There were just very much, as the way 2 Prime put it, power politics, where pure power, where they were just trying to power it out instead of trying to work together, which was very frustrating. And so when Trump became president, that was the last straw for me because Trump is nothing of what a Republican really is. And that was my last straw. Over my life, I went from all the way over here on the right, slowly getting pushed over to the left. That was my life. And so I was venomously angry with the Republicans, not as some crazy left person, but as someone who grew up with it and was just so disenchanted with it. So just, this is not what you're supposed to be kind of feel. And all I felt was rage, venomous rage. And that's why I was like that in 2016 and 17 and probably 18. Then in 19, I burnt out, and now in 2020, I'm more mellowed out. And it's not disappointment, it's just the Republican Party doesn't exist anymore. It's this other ugly thing. So that's why I'm just so done with them. I'm completely done with them now. I have no respect for the Republican Party whatsoever after the Amy Barrett push through. I said I wasn't going to have any, and I don't. They shoved her through. They've completely stepped all over what this democracy is. Instead of working together, instead of compromising, instead of just doing actual politics, they've done so much dirty work to get there. And so my faith is completely destroyed. It's all gone. There is nothing that I like about the Republican Party anymore. They have completely lost their soul, to me. There are plenty of people who still believe in the Republican Party, like the Lincoln Project and all that, but until the course is righted for that party, they are just this abysmal waste. I don't know. It's like, I wouldn't say hero, but like, it's like watching someone you respect, I don't know, knife somebody. I don't know. Watching someone you respect knife an orphan. I have no idea. It's just awful. Watching someone you respect knife Santa. That might be closer. Let's go with that. Let's go with this. I'm getting rambly, but just go with this. Like you're a big fan of Batman, and then one day you find out Batman hates Christmas, and he just knifes a mall Santa. Like that would definitely shake your resolve and love of Batman right there. That's a bit much. That's a bit much. It's a very weird analogy, but it's a bit much. That'd be weird. He just straight up knifes Santa. Okay. The original topic I want to talk about was my back, and I said that already. So let me tell you about my back, because I felt like it was boring. When I talked about it in the podcast, it felt pretty boring. And it's still going to be, it's just boring. It is an incredible amount of pain. Hurts like balls, even right now. But there's no easy way to describe it. Like, where on the doll am I in pain? The whole doll, basically. Well, I don't have a doll to use. I got Kirby's. Kirby's aren't exactly a good description of the human anatomy. I have a Mario somewhere, don't I? I have a Link. No, forget it. Your back, we all know it's integral, but you don't realize how integral until it happens. Just imagine when you got out of bed. You're laying in bed, let's say on your back. You're on your back. Maybe you just straight up rise up like the Undertaker. That right there is impossible for me right now. I cannot just buh like that. Here's what happens. It goes buh in extreme pain and right back down. I can't do this. I have to just roll to my side and then get myself up and then get up and go. That's what I have to do. So imagine that. Imagine you're on your back and you roll to your side. Okay, so when you're on your back, it was incredibly painful. When you rolled to your side, it hurt the entire way there. And I'm putting my legs together, using my knees to pull me over. I'm using my body to pull me over at the same time so it goes together. And all of that hurts. And if I twisted where only one side went instead of the other in alignment, it hurts even more. Now I'm on my side. Now the problem is, if I don't do it right, this arm might be a little too far forward. And so I have to take a bunch of pain to slide this arm under me so that I can get up. If I did it right, my arm's under me, but I still need to do some other finagling to move this arm. Now, while I'm doing all this, my lower back is in incredible pain. And then to get up, it's called the log method, you're supposed to push yourself off the bed and at the same time get your legs under you for the sitting position on your bed. That's incredibly painful. And if you do it wrong, you're twisting, and so that's a lot of pain as well. And now you're sitting, and you're sitting in pain. Well, like getting up like this in pain was a lot of pain. Sitting, also a lot of pain. Now getting up. So getting up is, of course, you push with your feet, you get and your knees are right there, and you get up. For me, I have to push my hands on the bed to give me some momentum to push up. And then this chair, I use that to hold on to and push myself up even more. All of that was incredibly painful. Lots of pain. Turning to walk and leave my bedroom. Incredible pain. Walking. Pain. Everything was pain. So, what did they do? They went into my lower back. So, the car accidents, when I got hit, it dislodged a disc in my back. Your spine is bone, disc, bone, disc, bone, disc. So, the discs are there for the bones to rub against for when you move, so they don't, bone on bone. The disc got pushed out. Unfortunately for me, it was the L4-L5. The L4-L5 disc is right down there at your base. It's right above your tail. By the way, you have a tail. Right above your tail. And so, obviously, that is integral for sitting. That is integral for twisting. That is integral for bending. It's an integral spot. A bone somewhere higher up, like the middle of the back, that would affect, of course, just your chest. That wouldn't affect your back as much, except for when you turn like this and that. That wouldn't have been as bad in some ways. I got the linchpin. The spot I got hit is a linchpin spot for a ton of movement. So because of that, so much of what I do that is normal in life for all of us Hurts like hell of a lot. What happened there with my words? It hurts a hell of a lot. I don't know what word I was choosing there. On the scale of 1 to 10, I've been hitting 8s all the time for the last 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since the surgery. Pain sucks. You don't really understand it until you're in it, and then when you get out of it, you completely block out the memory, and then you forget what it was. That's what happens. I don't remember... Well, there's not much to remember anyway. I have been in bed for so much time, or walking around, or just in pain. And I've streamed a little bit this week, and of course did the podcast. Those are the things I've done. I have accomplished very little for the channel. Like, right now I'm at the point where I can sit for 3 hours, so I can do the stream, and then I gotta get to bed. I gotta lay in bed again to recharge whatever pain I am encountering right now. Right now I'm at about a 3 on pain. It's weird how you get normal with pain. When I get out of this chair, it's gonna be a 4 or a 5. When I get back in this chair for the stream, it's going to be a 4 or a 5. Like, just the movement, just for that little bit, is much more painful. So, what happened is, I don't know if I should describe it too much, just made a cut right there, and a cut, and just open up. That's what happened. That's my back. And then go in there, go around the nerve, and then they just cut out the disc. Just scraped it out. They scraped out all the bulged out disc. And then they went in and scraped some more out, so that hopefully none of the disc bulges out some more. The idea there is, they did that, well, there's still disc for my movement, but there's not as much as there used to be, so I don't have as much movement. But the problem was, the disc was pressing against nerves in my spine. Those nerves are used for, obviously, movements with your legs and stuff. My legs have been in pain for over a year. They've been going numb as well. They took away what was squeezing them. Now I'm still in pain in my nerves, and that's because the nerve was squeezed for so long, now it needs to decompress. The problem is, it's possible it may never fully decompress. And if that happens, I will be with leg pain for the rest of my life, which sucks total balls. I really hope that's not the thing. I hope it decompresses. I'm in week 2, or I'm in the middle of week 3 now, I suppose. I have 6 weeks for my back to heal, because that whole time the disc is still like scabbing up and everything. So I gotta try not to bend too much. I gotta try not to twist too much. I'm trying not to get that disc to pop out, whatever's left. Trying not to let whatever's left to come out. And that's a scary thing, because just normal life, I might twist for whatever reason. I have not bent over, T, for like 2 weeks. I have not bent over for 2 weeks. I've not been on my stomach for 2 weeks. I've been on my side, I've been on my back. I've sat, I've laid, I can't roll. Every time I drop something, it's straight up Half-Life 2. I drop something, pick up the can, pick up the bottle, pick up whatever the hell I dropped, because I can't get it. I have to ask someone else to do it. I should get one of those claw things. Like my sister and dad, when I first came back from the hospital, they had to just carry me like luggage. The hospital was an interesting experience. I talk about some of this in the podcast, but walking stairs was amazingly painful. Because what is stairs? Stairs is you put a foot on the step, and then you put all your weight on that leg as you go to the next step, and all the weight's on that leg as you go to the next step, and so on and so forth. There's all the weight on one leg. So basically, let's do like Jenga. You got this tower of Jenga, there's only one block somewhere like in the middle or whatever, and all the movement's focused on that one piece of the Jenga block. That's what was going on. My back's unstable, I gotta walk upstairs, because that's the only way I'm gonna get to my apartment. I got my hands on the rails, and I got weight on one leg, weight on the next, and I'm just screaming the F word the whole time. There's a lot of kids in my apartment complex, so they learned a new word that day. Been pretty crap. It's been very bad. They want you to walk around often. Apparently it helps with the healing process in some way. But it hurts to get up. It hurts to walk, but it is what it is. And just, you gotta do whatever it takes to heal and all this stuff. So 6 weeks. 6 weeks of being cooped up in this apartment, for the most part, getting cabin fever. And then after that, it'll be 6 weeks of PT, physical therapy. I don't know what it's going to be. And then I'll go back to work, and things should be back to normal, hopefully. And then if I'm lucky, I did well enough that I don't need to do a fusion to my back. Because that's the thing, is the discs are still pretty healthy. It's just the bones around the disc is still pretty healthy. It's just, well, there's not that much disc there anymore. Down the line, I may have to do a fusion, because then they'll need to have compensation from the other parts of my back, and that's going to suck total balls. I cannot do as much as I could before, obviously. Can't get into a fight or a rough situation, because that could be bad for my back. I can't deadlift anymore, which is a problem, because every person at the gym thinks deadlift is the end-all be-all, and now I have to find a way around that. Yeah, I can do squats, but I can't do anything else. I can't do nothing that compresses. So I can do squats with dumbbells. I just can't do squats with like a bar on me, kind of thing. And that's unfortunate, because like people just, they live and breathe deadlift, and I can't do that. So I gotta find ways to still get strong without it. Problem is, people still like, yeah, you can still try to do deadlift. You can't do a deadlift. Stop saying I can still do a deadlift. You want me to be a cripple? I have the good fortune of my surgeon being a college sports doctor. So he's like, yeah, basketball players and football players, they get this injury as well. And so he's done it a lot. So I'm working with someone who's done this a lot. They say no more deadlifts, no more deadlifts. Okay, I've gone more than long enough. It's been a while since you've got a vlog. As far as the LPs go, it's a bunch of Zelda for a while. And it's going to be Hyrule Warriors when it comes out in 3 more weeks. What am I do for 3 weeks? I guess play Genshin Impact. The podcast is still happening, just very slowly. Both podcasts. I finally finished the Kirby's Toy Box script. You think I'd have all this free time to do stuff, but I've really just done nothing. And it really bugs me a little bit, because I'm used to doing so much, but it's really just, sometimes I have to just lay down, and that's all I can do. What can you really do while laying down? Listen to book on tape, I guess. Been rewatching Simpsons. It's been an interesting experience rewatching The Simpsons. And I've gone long enough. Sorry, Jinx. So that's the vlog. It's been a couple weeks, though. I had fun talking. Hope you have fun watching and listening. And I know it's a very somber one. And I'll be more upbeat in the future, probably, right? These vlogs, of course, are my just talking out loud kind of therapy, right? So there's that. I have fun talking, hope you have fun watching and listening, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Having fun. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.